Munchlax!
What's going on, YouTube? You're chilling with Trainers I was at. We are back for the newly revamped version of Pokenalysis. We are going back to Little Cup, and we are starting with the very first Pokemon as an homage to my bud, Bulbasaur's the G. We are gonna do Bulbasaur. Which, by the way, shout out for the awesome new layout. So, Bulbasaur is pretty, it's not very common in the Little Cup tier. It's not used very much, even though it's got some decent stats. Its speed is okay, it's got some okay bulk with the Violite, and just saying more about its speed is that it actually hits the 14 speed stat, meaning it can be a viable Scarfer. And that's even with Modest. With Timid, it's 15, which means it'll outspeed other 14 speed Scarfers. It's got a few weaknesses in Psychic, Flying, Ice, and Fire. Ice isn't very common in the Little Cup tier, except on water types, but then again, you know, you're a grass type, so you should be able to take care of water types just fine. Flying is pretty common. Psychic, there are a lot of Abras running around, but as far as diversity, I wouldn't say it's too common, but again, there are a lot of Abras. And Fire, I'd say it's common in this tier. Resistances to Fairy, Water, Electric, Fighting, and Grass. That Fighting and Fairy resistance is going to help you a lot. Now, looking at the abilities, we've got Overgrow and Chlorophyll. Overgrow, meh. I mean, if you're not running a Sun team, then you might want to go with Overgrow, but even then, if you're not running Sun, you might still want to go with Chlorophyll in case your opponent is running Sun. But the main crux of this set is Chlorophyll, which will double its speed when in the Sun. Speaking of which, we've got a couple strategies here. The first being a Smogon strategy, the Life Orb sweeping Bulbasaur with Chlorophyll, Modest Nature, 240 Special Attack, 240 Speed, with Sludge Bomb, Solar Beam or Giga Drain, Sleep Powder, and HP Fire. This set does good work. It sweeps pretty well just by coming in. It's a nice revenge killer when the sun is up. There is a little problem that with this set, it can be outsped by Speed 20 Pokemon. It can't be outsped by Speed 19. Now, when I say Speed 20, I mean like Speed 20 with a Scarf. So, you can outspeed pretty much the whole tier, but if you see your opponent bring in something like a Voltorb, or an Elekid, or a Diglett, then it might be Scarfed if they're bringing it in against Bulbasaur in the sun. Sludge Bomb and Solar Beam or Giga Drain are the main stabs here, with Sleep Powder for support in case you run into something you don't like, and finally HP Fire for those annoying Steel types, and Pharaoh Seed, which I gotta say, HP Fire, great against Pharaoh Seed. Surprisingly, not a one-hit KO when not in the sun. Even within the sun, I think, you know what, never mind, I'm not gonna talk about this unless I actually have the stats in front of me, but all I know is I did an HP Fire against a Pharaoh Seed once, and it didn't kill it, and I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, the next set is in the similar vein, that is also Smogon. It is an Violite Chlorophyll Timid set with Growth. That's right, it is a setup sweeper with 240 Special Attack, 240 Speed, Sleep Powder, Giga Drain, HP Fire, or Sludge Bomb. The main stab here is Giga Drain, Sleep Powder for utility, and Growth to set up your special attack, which in the sun doubles your special attack. So the reason it's running Timid in this case is to get your maximum amount of speed, and to, since you're doubling your special attack anyway, you won't need that much to invest. And finally, you've got your choice of HP Fire or Sludge Bomb. As coverage moves, Sludge Bomb could be a secondary stab, but in that case, you're left wide open to Steel types. And HP Fire does get Pseudo Stab with the Sun, so that's usually the preferred alternate choice. And finally, we're going to take a look at the Bulbasaurus strategy. That's right, Pedro, I got a strategy all named after you. Its item is Berry Juice with the ability Overgrow and an Adamant Nature with 204 attack, 44 defense, and 236 speed. With the moves, Power Whip, Knockoff, Rock Smash, and the last slot being anything you want. You could have Sleep Powder, you could have frickin' Solar Beam, you could have, I don't know, whatever you want. The main set of this is to knock off, Power Whip, and pray you get a crit. Oh, and don't forget the Rock Smash so that way you can maybe get the defenses down and crit. Pedro, I hope you appreciate that joke. But on a more serious note, let's go ahead and take a look at checks and counters. Checks and counters for Bulbasaur include Fletchling, Snover, Volibee, Munchlax, and Fire types. To break it down, Fletchling, it can hit Bulbasaur with a Aerial Ace Acrobatics anytime it wants. Or not Aerial Ace, not even Aerial 8. Gale Wing, thank you. Gale Wing Acrobatic anytime it wants, so that makes it a hard counter to Bulbasaur, meaning that it doesn't matter how fast it gets with Chlorophyll, it's going to get knocked out thanks to the priority. Snover can come in, change the weather, outspeed if it's Scarfed, and one-shot with a Blizzard, and that does happen sometimes. Volibee is immune to Sleep Powder, can take the grass hits, can take its other special moves pretty well if it's especially defensive, and can just roost off the damage and hit it with a Brave Bird. Munchlax is a specialty defensive monster, which, unless you're running the Growth Bulbasaur set, you're not going to be able to penetrate that wall anytime soon. And finally, most fire types will actually wall Bulbasaur. Now, if you're talking about bulky, like Eviolite fire types, yeah, I guess bulky. Like if you're talking Eviolite Ponyta or Eviolite Larvesta, it can take Bulbasaur's hits pretty well because it can resist the HP fire or be immune to it, such as in the case with Ponyta with Flash Fire, or resist the Giga Drain, and even with Sludge Bomb, if it doesn't do 50%, then it's fine. It could just Morning Sun off the damage. But in general, fire types can hinder Bulbasaur. But in that same vein, one of Bulbasaur's best teammates is a fire type, and which is Vulpix. Vulpix sets up the sun for Bulbasaur so that way it sweeps. It is the crux of its Chlorophyll ability. And sometimes it's kind of tempting to go with an Eviolite to make sure Vulpix can actually, survive. But it's best to go with the Heat Rock so that way you can get more turns for Bulbasaur to sweep. It depends on whether you want survivability over utility. And sometimes that's a pretty hard choice to make. Another great teammate for Bulbasaur is Archon, which can come in on most of Bulbasaur's checks, such as fire types, especially defensive Mons, not Snover, but it can come in. Well, actually, if it's a Scarfed Archon, you can probably knock out the Snover. But my point is, it can come in on most fire attacks or flying attacks, sponge the hits, and then possibly get off rocks or go for its own rock moves, stuff like that. Another good teammate for Bulbasaur is Diglett, which can come in and trap most of its checks and counters. Mostly Digletts run sash sets, so it won't be too good against Fletchling, but it can help against a lot of fire types or Pokemon that want to come in and sponge the hit and leave, like Ponyta, Larvesta. I guess it can work to Munchlax to a certain extent, but it depends on how much bulk the Munchlax is running in physical defense and whether Diglett can 2-hit KO. And one final teammate that Bulbasaur can really take advantage of is Chinchou, because it can also come in on Fletchling. It can come in on most weather inducers that aren't actually even that are Vulpix. I mean, I don't think Vulpix gets Solar Beam. Yeah, it does not get Solar Beam, but it does get Energy Ball. But Chinchou can come in on pretty much any weather setupper, including Snover, because the Snover isn't going to go for a grass attack against Bulbasaur. It's going to go for the ice attack. And that could just give you a chance to come in and maybe hit it up with not Snover specifically, but give you a chance to get some momentum back and protect your Bulbasaur. But I think that's it for this Pokenalysis. I hope you all enjoyed and found it informative. Leave your comments down in the comment section below if you have your own set, and I will see you all next time. Bye!